So welcome everybody to this presentation entitled Workplace Motivation. My name is Leslie Mateel and I'm presenting on behalf of Instant CPD, who, as you know, provide learning and education to help to keep you up to date and provide you with all the skills and resources that you need as you move forward into the next year. Can I just suggest that before we get going that you make sure that you have downloaded all of the resources and the slides. We find that people get much more out of the presentations if they have those readily available. So now would be a good time to do that if you haven't already done it. So this presentation is going to look at what it means to be motivated in the workplace. We do know that times are difficult in every business. There's huge demands, there's huge targets, there's greater competition. And one of the things that's going to set one business apart from another will be the level of commitment, engagement and motivation of the staff. So this presentation is really all about how can you help your staff to feel committed to the work that they do. And similarly, how can you also raise your own individual motivation? Perhaps it'd be good to start by just telling you a little bit about my background. I actually began my working life as a probation officer, which is an unusual craft for many. And the role of the probation officer is really to help people to think about the circumstances in which they're in and to help them to imagine circumstances where offending doesn't play a part. And then to help them to find the motivation, skills, the strategies to move from where they are to where they need to be. And it was during that work that I really developed my motivational skills, because you can't tell serious and entrenched offenders to change. You've got to help them to find the motivation to do that for themselves. And after I'd worked in the probation service for a number of years, I transferred those motivational skills into the corporate world. And now I work in manufacturing, in education, professional services, helping leaders to bring out the very best in their staff. And it's going to be some of those ideas that I'm going to be sharing with you as we go through today. And it'd be really useful for you to think about, where do you fit with all this information? What are you currently doing that's good, that you can build on? What are the gaps that you might have? What can you fill in? What can you take from this, which will help you to be an even better leader of people in your environment? So I hope you find this really useful and interesting. If we just look at the aims of the course, what would be good is if you go away from here with a really good working knowledge of the principles of developing and sustaining high levels of motivation in others. And that's important just to recognise that in some you might need to develop those levels of motivation, and there's always going to be the challenge about sustaining those over the year. And as I said before, it'd be good to raise your own enthusiasm and the energy that you have for your role. And what we want is for people to be much more committed to the work that they do and interested in the work they do. And we know, as a result of all of that, that will increase their engagement, their productivity for the business, and their personal satisfaction at work. All of those are really important. So that's what we'll be aiming at over the next few moments. And just in terms of organisation, we're going to spend a little bit of time thinking about the context. Why bother with motivation? Where does it fit? And then thinking about, well, what is motivation, particularly in the work environment? We'll have a little look at some of the established theories, and then a section looking at some useful themes, not theories as such, but some principles that have emerged, which are very useful for you to think about in the workplace. We'll have a look at some practical tools. So how can you bring all of this together? What might that look like if you're generating increased motivation in the workplace? And then, of course, it wouldn't be complete without having a little look about how do we deal with resistance. It would be great if everybody was hugely cooperative and motivated, but there are always some that are not. So that's the structure of the session that we're going to enjoy.